We went over the basics of mastery in the last video, and this time we'll be talking specifically about farming mastery. Just so you know, every mastery will provide either 2 crafting recipes or 1 crafting recipe and a new tool, then 1 buff that affects drop rates. All of the masteries are required for perfection, so don't let that influence your decision. Without further ado, let's go over the 3 rewards for farming mastery, starting with the Iridium Scythe. As you may know, the scythe isn't upgraded like all of the other tools. Instead, you just start out with the regular scythe, you get a gold scythe from the quarry cave, which more efficiently clears grass, gives you more hay from said grass, and has a slightly longer reach. Finally, you get the Iridium Scythe here. It once again has a slightly increased range, and now will always harvest hay from a tile of grass, up from the 75% chance of the gold scythe. It also deals more damage, 20 each hit, which I suppose could knock out a weaker enemy in a pinch. The big draw, however, is that it can harvest any crop, not just wheat and amaranth like usual. What you're watching right now is a comparison of clearing off an 8x8 field of crops with the scythe and by hand. It's a lot faster, especially on console where you can't use the cursor easily to harvest a lot of crops at once. It also does work on potted plants and any forageables grown from wild seeds. Unfortunately, it doesn't take the botanist profession into account if you harvest with the scythe, and in fact, all of the wild seeds crops will be normal quality, so I don't really recommend using it for them. And I did test, it doesn't work on naturally occurring forageables other than the spring onions for some reason. Fun little use case here. If you wanted to, you could plant trellis crops 3 rows thick, and while you normally wouldn't be able to reach the center for harvesting, now you can. Unfortunately, you still can't enchant it, which is a bit of a shame because the haymaker enchantment would have gone crazy. Interesting to note that the Iridium Scythe is so good that Junimos had to get a buff in response. Putting grapes into the new dehydrator makes raisins, and when raisins are put into a Junimo hut, the Junimos will have a 15% chance to double harvest a crop, so there's still a reason to use them. All in all, this reward makes the best moneymaker in the game a lot more manageable, so it's one of the better unlocks. Next, the only crafting recipe in this mastery is the Statue of Blessings, and oh boy, what a crafting recipe it is. 999 sap, 999 fiber, 999 stone, and 333 moss. Honestly, it's not as bad as it looks. At this late in the game, getting 999 sap and stone is inevitable. You can get 333 moss pretty easily by spending your green rain day in summer foraging, but for the fiber, you may want to dedicate a week or so of your farm to fiber seeds. They give about 5.5 fiber each, so planting 67 of them will get you up to 333. And yes, using the grapes on Junimos works for them as well. So with a recipe like that, it's gotta be crazy, right? Well, it's okay. Each day, the statue will give you 1 of 7 possible blessings. You can't reset your day to change which blessing you get, and even if you have multiple statues, they'll all give the same blessing, so there's no way to cheese it. Let's get the most complicated blessing out of the way first. The Blessing of the Butterfly. This will spawn a prismatic butterfly somewhere in the valley. The rules are, it will be outside, and it's in the main valley, so not the desert or Ginger Island. Once you find it, if it's wandered out of bounds a bit, you can get it again by re-entering the area, and then it'll respawn near land. Grabbing it will either give you a prismatic shard or 0.5% of the gold you've earned up to 50,000. To get that 50,000, you will need to earn 10 million gold, which would already set you well on your way to perfection level money. I want to be clear, that's a nice clump of change just for walking around and finding a butterfly, but it's very late game. Your chance for getting the prismatic shard is affected by your daily luck. On average, it's about a 5% chance, but on a particularly bad luck day, that chance could be 0%. At most, it'll be a 15% chance or a 17.5% chance if you have the special charm from secret note number 20. That's the one that you get next to Jojamart by giving it a rabbit's foot. Now for the simpler blessings. The Blessing of Energy gives you infinite energy for the day. I don't find this very impactful this late into the game, especially after collecting most of the star drops. The Blessing of Fangs gives an extra 10% chance to crit. Note that this will be taken into account before any crit chance multipliers, like the Scout Profession. So essentially, if you have the Scout Profession, this is a 15% increase. The Blessing of Friendship gives you 60 friendship points instead of 20 when you talk to someone. It doesn't affect gifting friendship. As a side note, the Friendship 101 book that can be found in the ticket machine increases all friendship gain by 10%, so it's 66 friendship points instead of 22 if you've read it. As a reference, a full heart is 250 friendship points. The Blessing of Speed increases your movement speed by 0.5. This is a 10% increase of your normal running speed. That's half the buff that the coffee gives you, and it's equivalent to the buff of the 2 Way of the Wind books added together. Note that this also affects your weapon swinging speed. The Blessing of Waters makes the first 3 fish you hook easier to catch. Essentially, it'll lower their difficulty by 50%, or if it's a legendary fish, by 25%. That's kind of hard to conceptualize. So if you hook a catfish, it's now about as difficult as a bream. If you hook the legend, it's now about as hard as a void salmon. Still difficult, but not nearly as much. And last, the Blessing of Luck, which increases your luck by 1. It's the luck stat, not your daily luck, so it has all the same effects that, say, wearing a luck ring does. You're more likely to find ladders, you have a higher chance of finding gem nodes, things like that. Interesting note, the Blessing of the Butterfly will not occur on rainy days, so pop rain totems if you're on the hunt for one of the other blessings. And for the final reward, you can now find animal crackers. What these animal crackers do is double the produce of any animal, including fish ponds, but excluding pigs, because they're already crazy enough. You can find them in many ways: skull cavern chests, artifact spots, even just shaking a tree. But if you want to find as many as you can fast, I recommend fishing for treasure chests. There are 7% drop in chests and 9% in golden chests from the fishing mastery path. With a proper build of magnets, treasure hunter bobbers, and luck buffs, you can have about a 65% chance to get a chest on each fish. Another way is to use the treasure totems from foraging mastery. It's about a 0.9% chance to spawn out of an artifact spot. A treasure totem spawns 16 artifact spots, so you have about a 14.4% chance to find it from each treasure totem. The way the animal cracker works is you give it to an animal, you can tell which ones have it if you check the animals tab, and from then on, forever, you will get 2 of their product whenever you pick it up. If you sell that animal, or it dies from being outside, or you empty out that fish pond, you will essentially lose the cracker and you are not refunded. Here it is. Are y'all ready? The chart. So on this chart, we have the animal represented, how much it takes to buy them, which profession is ideal to make the most money from them, which products will be selling, and then I've split profit into 2 groups. The first one is profit at minimum friendship, minimum mood, you haven't done anything with the animal, and the right side is profit at max friendship and max mood, and in some cases, max daily luck. And I do want to go through every single animal and tell you exactly how those calculations work, because some of them get very complicated. I'm looking at you, rabbit. Starting with our chicken. At no friendship, it always gives a regular egg. At max friendship, it always gives a large egg. The difference is a regular mayonnaise and a gold mayonnaise. Simple, easy. The same can be said about the cows and goats. When they're at minimum friendship, they give small milk. Max friendship, big milk, which makes a normal and gold quality cheese respectively. Funny enough, cows are just better than goats. I don't know what that's all about, but that's how it is. Then we have a couple of animals who don't get better with more friendship, this being the void chicken, the dinosaur, and the golden chicken. This is because even though you do get higher quality eggs out of them at higher friendship, they always turn into normal quality mayonnaise when put into a mayonnaise machine. I just want to point out void chickens real quick. They are very good for requiring no friendship. 770 gold a day outclasses all animals except for the super expensive ones and the super late game ones. Then we go to ducks and rabbits. You'll notice that the duck actually sells for more money at low friendship, and that's just because duck mayonnaise always sells for more than duck feathers, and you don't have a chance to get duck feathers at low friendship, so don't pet your ducks. If you're worried about money, that is. Duck feathers are still a great gift. The same does not apply to the rabbit, even though it's set up kind of similarly, and that's because having higher quality wool from the rabbit does actually matter, so you do want to have higher friendship. And we use Coop Master here because it raises the average quality of wool and rabbit's feet, and rabbit's feet aren't affected by the artisan profession, so on average you're going to make more from Coop Master. Then getting to sheep, we use the shepherd profession because it allows them to produce every single day when they're at max friendship, and once again it raises the average quality of wool. Pigs, same as they've always been, they're not affected by animal crackers. If you're wondering why we use the botanist profession, it's because iridium quality truffle sells for more than truffle oil with the artisan profession, so there's no reason to turn it into oil. Ostrich eggs have a unique quality where they're put into the mayonnaise machine, they actually retain the quality that the egg was, so you do benefit from gaining friendship with them. Golden chicken, while it's a super high number, remember you can only get it after perfection, so it's not the most useful in most regular playthroughs. And lastly, we have a lava eel pond with the animal cracker. This is only if you sell the roe, not any of the other products. And as you can see, it also does very well for itself, although it's quite a bit to set up compared to most animals. As you can see, nothing still quite eclipses pigs, but consider that pigs can't be used in winter or on rainy days, and they don't benefit from the auto grabber. Suddenly, things like the sheep are starting to look kind of appealing. And that is absolutely everything about farming mastery that I can think of. Overall, I would say that the Iridium Scythe is probably the best reward out of the whole thing. Animal crackers are really good, but can be hard to get consistently. And the Statue of Blessings, this late into the game, it's really not that useful. I think at most the extra crit power could be really fun in a crit build. Anyway, next time we'll be moving on to foraging. See you all then, and good night.